Detroit Lions fans, Detroit Den 313 back with another episode. Before we get going, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. Helps us out tremendously, man. We're trying to grow this channel like crazy. You guys have been killing it. Let's keep that thing going. Steve, it's rough times.
It's been an emotional day, my man. It's been an emotional day.
Man, it's been an emotional week.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
What we talking, man? What's going on?
Coaching carousel, man. This thing's just, we obviously knew Aaron Glenn that was coming down sooner rather than later. Official now. Yeah, going to the New York Jets. I think they hit a home run. They stole one from us. So for everyone who wanted Aaron Glenn fired or to move on from the Detroit Lions, your wish has been granted. That's not how we felt here. But we're going to talk about where we go from here, some options. We're going to talk about some things that are, Ben Johnson's trying to steal some pieces from us. He's trying to poach our coaching staff. We're gonna get in a lot today, Will. So where would you like to begin? I mean, obviously the big news is Aaron Glenn. How do you feel about that?
I'm happy for him, man. I'm happy for him. Obviously, I'm not happy he's gone. It makes me sad. There's some things about him leaving that I've heard bouncing around Twitter and bouncing around some key news sources when it comes to the NFL that worry me, that I think we'll get into. But the first thing I want to highlight is this. When the news broke, as soon as I heard the news, I did the same thing I did when the Chicago Bears coach news broke. I got on Twitter and I wanted to see, man, well, what's going on? What are people saying? How are people feeling? What are the players saying? When the Chicago Bears hired their coach, it was radio silence from our players. You didn't hear nothing. There was no posts. There was no information being put out there. I was a little bit curious. 5 minutes after I seen this news break on Twitter, I start seeing this. Terry and Arnold, couldn't be happier for you. And I'm not going to put them all up here. Alex Anzalone, right?
They go back to the Saints days too. So he's been with Aaron Glenn for a while.
Yeah. And there's Amik Robertson. Same thing. Happy for you. So, Steve, it makes a question pop up in my mind. The way that the Chicago Bears coach went about his business, do you think that it may have rubbed some people the wrong way? I know that people are saying the right things. I saw what Amon-Ra St. Brown said today. He was like, hey, man, talk to him. Happy for him or whatever. Because being around the game for a long time, silence typically isn't good. And silence typically leads me to believe that there was probably a communication brief put out by the Detroit Lions organization. Like, hey, guys, don't get out here and start commenting no BS, man, on social media. Silence, to me, spoke volumes. Steve, what do you think? Is there some underlying breadcrumbs here or am I just reaching?
I grew up pretty tough, Will. I single mom household most of my life, and she taught me something. She taught me something very fortunate, very life altering that I still carry into this world today.
I think I know where you're going.
If you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all, because I wasn't thinking the same thing, but I'm not going to say you're wrong. Like, I haven't seen Jared Goff put anything out. I haven't seen Jahmyr Gibbs, Penei Sewell, anyone on offense really say anything about Ben Johnson. I saw Amon-Ra St. Brown had some comments that he made on his podcast. Hey, I'm looking forward to playing the Bears twice. And I texted Ben Johnson, said, I'm going to fuck you up twice. That's all, period. Like, no conversation needed. So, yeah, it's kind of a different narrative with Aaron Glenn leaving. I think this speaks to what we talked about last year when we were talking about Aaron Glenn. Like, he has the respect of a lot of players in this league. He was voted the #1 coach that people wanted to play for. I think that played a huge factor in the Jets' decision. I'm curious to see what's going to happen. I would love to be a fly on the wall for that conversation with Aaron Glenn and Aaron Rodgers the first time they meet, because I think that's going to be interesting, but obviously it's not our problem anymore. So I think the Jets got a home run here. I think it'll take them some time to right the ship. They got some things they need to take care of in their clubhouse, mainly Aaron Rodgers. So I'm curious to see what happens with that. And luckily we don't have to face Aaron Glenn that often. So it's kind of a different setup and how it really affects the Detroit Lions too, opposed to Ben Johnson. We'll see him twice a year. So I don't know. I'm happy he's moving on, but now I think we need to shift our focus to these Detroit Lions and where do we go from here, William?
Yeah, I agree, man. So we've talked off air, we've talked on the show, obviously things bouncing around Twitter. It was almost a no-brainer to me that somebody that was really going to get entertained for this defensive coordinator job was going to be Calvin Shepherd, man. It was like to me, it was like Coach Glenn even mentioned the fact that he's been grooming him to be a DC over the last couple of seasons. Mentioned the fact that he believes that he's ready to step into that role and the phase of coaching that he's in right now. But Steve, I heard something today, actually just about an hour ago. Uh, he could be going with AG. That scares me. That
Wouldn't shock me. It scares me, but it wouldn't shock me.
It wouldn't shock me either, but he was a guy that I was really looking forward to still being in the room, whether he got the defensive coordinator job or not. So you are kind of already answered the question that I was going to pose to you. Do you think this thing really has wheels, like he could potentially be leaving? And then does that worry you with us moving forward?
Does it worry me? No, because there's some monster names still floating out. There's still some big fish in the sea to come here and coach this defense. So it kind of makes sense. He's been in these rooms with Aaron Glenn, Kelvin Shepard. Like they've been in all the meetings, all the rooms. They know exactly how each other think, what they like to do, their strengths, their weaknesses. Um, and we've kind of hinted it, and we saw some reports that Ben Johnson was trying to poach Hank Fraley as well. It's just someone you're familiar with. You got to have a coordinator that you can trust. So it's not really surprising. Um, I kind of question some loyalties because I think there's an opportunity here for Kelvin Shepard. I think there's an opportunity here for Hank Fraley. I would like to hear that they at least were considered for our offensive and defensive coordinators position instead of just jumping ship right away.
Yeah.
But if it's a chance for them to better themselves and they weren't going to get that opportunity here, I understand it. So it doesn't concern me because we're going to talk some names today. There's some monster names floating out. Well, I got two guys that I would personally love to have that we're going to get into. Hint, hint. Look at my t-shirt. Look at my hoodie.
Yeah. Before we get into that, man, I will say I agree with you. I think that if there would be some loyalty issues if both are on the table, but I think it may boil down to, hey, can I be a DC for the Detroit Lions? Or do I get an opportunity to be a DC somewhere else or just get the opportunity to come back and be a linebackers coach for the Detroit Lions? If that's what's on the table, it goes back to the same thing with Aaron Glenn. You get an opportunity to, like you said the other day, better yourself, better your situation for your family. I couldn't blame him one bit. So we'll see. Yet remains to be seen. I did see that tomorrow Brad Holmes is going to be talking to the media. So
We'll
I'm
be.
interested to see what he's
You'll
got
be
to
at
say.
work. I'll be locked in. I'll be reading every word, William. And I got Brad Holmes' scent in my nostrils still from the draft. I know exactly what's going to happen. We'll have an episode out for you guys tomorrow night talking about that. But who are some players or some coaches that realistically you think could end up as the Detroit Lions defensive coordinator?
All right, starting with defense then. Uh I'm gonna go. I'll say we do this, Steve. I propose this. Let's go in-house or outside of the organization currently. Which one you want me to go to first? In-house or outside?
You can do inside.
All right, inside. So inside defensive coordinator with, and this is outside of the box, man. As you see, you heard it first here at Detroit Den 313. Uh Inside the organization, I haven't heard anyone mentioning his name outside of the San Francisco 49ers. And that's Coach the Shay Townsend, man. I think that he's been one of those names that have just been quietly floating under the radar. He's got a long history of coaching, long history as a player, man. I feel like he fits right in with the culture here with the Detroit Lions. Only has one season under his belt. That's the only thing that kind of shies me a little bit, but it boils down to he is a seasoned coach. You know what I mean? And he understands the organization. He's spent a year with us. He spent a year with Coach Campbell. The players know him, and he has been described as a leader of men. Right. So if I'm thinking about somebody in house and Shep is off the table, right, in my mind, I'm taking Shep off the table because he could potentially be leaving with Coach Glenn. Honestly, I think that he might be a guy that I have to take a strong look at, man. And we forgot to mention Coach Williams is gone. He went to the Patriots today,
Yep.
so that's
Yep.
another one that we lost. Terrell Williams, arguably the best defensive line coach in the NFL, we lost him as well. So taking those guys off of the table, I don't want to make it like he's last pick in the flag football game, but Shay Townsend is another one that I take a strong look at, especially Pittsburgh Steelers Iron Curtain, man. He's got a lot of rich coaching and playing history that I really like. What do you think about Coach Townsend, man? You think he's a possibility?
Possibility, yes. William, I'm just going to come out and say it. All right, it's going to take a lot for me not to get my hopes up that Bob Saleh doesn't end up in Detroit. All right, it's just it's been we talked about him last year. We had the writing on the wall last season when we thought AG was going to leave. Now that he's officially gone, what do we got to do, William? Do I got to come wax this guy's floors? Do I got to come help him move, unpack his clothes? Do we guys do his laundry for him, pack his lunches, whatever it takes? All right,
Yeah.
Bring that guy in for an interview. Do the old saying, he doesn't leave the building. Okay, that's just how it's got to be for me. I've been locked onto him for a year and a half. When I look at what he did with the 49ers defense, they were absolutely elite. I see a lot of similarities personnel-wise with the Lions. Aiden Hutchinson and Bosa, Fred Warner, Jack Campbell. I think we've got a better secondary. If we could beef up the trenches a little bit and get strong in our pass rush, I think Bob Saleh would be an absolute grand slam. Can't miss. Take it to the bank. He's been my number one. It's going to take a miracle because I know he's kind of linked to the Jacksonville Jaguars right now, but the Jacksonville Jaguars did a move today. William, did you see what they did?
I didn't.
They fired their GM today. Yeah, they fired their GM like 10 minutes after I was looking up some stuff on Saleh, seeing what was going on. So I'm thinking if he was interviewing for that and then they just fired their GM, that could be a position where he says, I don't know what's going on here with ownership. I don't want any part of it. So who's our competition, really? I think it's the Raiders, who still have a head coaching vacancy, the San Francisco 49ers, or does he stay home and come to Detroit and coach up his hometown team, William? But that's my number one choice. My mind's not going to change. How do you feel about Bob?
Hey, man. In Bob we trust. Took the words out of my mouth. I don't want to beat a dead horse. Bob's the guy. He's the guy. I like Coach Townsend. He's somebody I take a strong look at. If Coach Saleh takes the Jacksonville Jaguars job, that head coach over there for the Chicago Bears did make mention to the fact that one of the reasons why he didn't take the Jacksonville Jaguars job was the way that things were aligned over there in Jacksonville. So it could be another reason why they got rid of their GM today. All right. So I don't know, man. Well, yet remains to be seen. The only thing that scares me is he could be waiting for a head coaching position, or maybe he's looking at those San Francisco 49ers as a, number one. That climate there, it may.
It's like -20 today. I can't be mad at anyone who wants to live out in California.
Like, hey, you come out here for an interview today, I don't know, man. You might be like, oh yeah. Just as soon as you get off the plane, I'm just gonna get back on. Here we are. We're all set here. So, Coach Campbell, just a little hint. I don't want to, pretend like I know everything. Maybe just do a Zoom with him. Don't even make him come here right now. but
don't report till after the draft either.
Facts, man. But yeah, it's I want Saleh, man. Saleh's the guy. But if we can't get him, I'm really like Coach Townsend as well, man. I was digging on him today. So those are the two that I have right now sticking out in my mind with Coach Shep potentially leaving. But if for some reason Coach Shepard didn't leave, then it would be Coach Saleh and then Shep.
I got a wild card, William. I think you already know who it is. I've already left a pretty big hint. There's a guy by the name of Wink Martindale. Okay, Michigan, right down the road. We're familiar with Wink Martindale. All right, I thought he had a great season this year, coaching up the Michigan defense. The offense was obviously the issue. So we're not a college football show, but if you follow college football, you know that Michigan struggled to complete a forward pass, which is a pretty pivotal thing in football. So when I look at how stressed that defense was and how they had to compete in a lot of games, their defense played pretty damn good football. If you need anything to look at, just go queue up that Ohio State game. Okay. We're not here to throw jabs. After Ohio State won the national championship, asterisk, they didn't 2-loss national champion. What are we talking about here, William? I don't know, but I got to thinking Wink Martindale absolutely dominated that defense or that offense, dominated them. put pressure. He put pressure from a lot of different ways. Linebacker, safety, wasn't playing with a full deck of cards too. We had some guys sitting out getting ready for the draft, but we still had the big boys, Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant up front, wrecking teams. Josiah Stewart. We had some guys that were, he's very creative with his blitzes. And if you're familiar with the name, Jesse Minter, who is the defensive coordinator out for the Chargers right now, and Mike McDonald, the head coach for the the Seattle Seahawks. Those were the two guys that he groomed. He said when he got hired as Michigan DC, he said, "You like those guys? I'm the OG of this system. I came up with this." So, and before you think, "Oh, he's just a college coach," no, Martindale has been around for a minute. He was part of some very, very good Ravens defenses. Say what you want about the New York Giants. They played pretty good defense. He was with the Broncos for a little while as their linebackers coach. He's been around the league. He's got some NFL experience. If he wants to come back right down the road, hey man, you don't even have to sell your house. You just, drive on down to Detroit, coach some football. I think if we get him some pieces and some things to work with on defense, I think that'd be a great hire too. How do you feel about old Wink?
I love Wink, man. And what I like about him is he's a Super Bowl champion. When you think about, or at least when I think about the Baltimore Ravens, I think about tough, hard-nosed defenses. He was a DC for the Baltimore Ravens for 3 seasons. Broncos typically play some good defense.
Mm-hmm.
He was a DC out there for the Denver Broncos, man. And you mentioned the Giants, man. So he's a guy who's proven. And I think that's what we need if we're going to go the route that I think that we may go offensively. So if we go with a guy who is unproven as our OC, right? And by unproven, I mean hasn't been an offensive coordinator yet. I don't think that we should go with an unproven guy as our DC. So I think one of the two guys need to be a veteran piece. Now, I think this thing flows right in with both of those two guys. The only issue that I would pose with Week is his ability to relate to these players. And I know that probably the first instinct is to say, wait a second. He's got college football players playing good football, and they're younger than even NFL players. I know NIL deal is a thing, but not all these college guys are getting NIL. Everybody in the NFL has a bag, right? And they got an attitude. And they no longer have to perform at the level that they have to perform when they're trying to scratch, claw, and get their way to the NFL. They've made it. They got money coming in. A lot of these guys, especially the star guys that you're going to try to get to really perform at a high level. When now into his 60s, can he continue to relate to these guys and get these guys to perform at a high level and buy into what he's trying to get them to do? I'm not saying that he can't. It's just a question for me. I think that the staff that we've kept around the Detroit Lions so far have been guys that are this far away from playing the game. They were just playing it. They understand what your body feels like. They understand the girls that are in your DM. They understand you wanting to go out and spend this money. You know what I mean? Like they understand the game. They were just playing it just 2 seconds ago, a wink ago.
Yeah, I see what you did there. Yeah, very nice.
So, but yeah, man, that's my only question. He's a dog coach, man, without a doubt. So I don't know. It will still be Saleh first to me, but I do not want to see 2 first-year coordinators at the same time.
Well, let me ask you this then, because I think you're right, and I think it's very important as well, and it wasn't really on my radar. On which side of the ball do you think we should have to have the more experienced coordinator?
I would say defense, because Coach Campbell is an offensive guy. So Coach Campbell's going to be able to kind of carry along whoever the OC ends up being. So if he's a newer guy or if it's his first time coaching an offense, then Coach Campbell could bring that guy along, where with defense not being his forte. Now, Coach Campbell knows both sides of the football. You've heard every freaking coach in our building say that he knows both sides of the football and special teams.
Aaron Glenn just said it the other day in his interview. I'm a football coach. I just happen to be on defense.
Exactly. So it's not like it can't be the opposite, but if I'm choosing in between the two, it would be a little bit greener OC and then a veteran defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think our offense is just more established. It's been more consistent. It's been in the top 5 for the last 3-4 seasons. I don't want to say you can like Phil Jackson this thing and just hire anyone and it's just going to keep rolling, because I don't think that's the case. But I don't think we need many pieces on offense. Like we might sprinkle in a receiver here and there in the draft, maybe a tight end and a guard or something like that. But for the most part, you know who your quarterback is, you know who your offensive line is 80%. You know you got two receivers, you know you got Sam Laporta, you know you got the best running backs in football. It's more established. When I look at the defense, a little bit more up and down consistently with some stats and some numbers that we were giving up. Injuries play a part. I think if we got a more seasoned head coach or a more seasoned coordinator on that side of the football, it would probably be my choice as well.
Like it. So that said, Steve, you pose the first one at me first. I'm gonna pose this one at you first, and I'll let you go whichever direction that you want to go. Offensive coordinator replacing that guy that took the job for the Chicago Bears. Tell me which way you're gonna go, in house or outside, and who's your main guy right now you're looking at.
I think it's my number one guy is probably Hank Fraley right now, and I think that he's kind of left some clues. You know, he had some interviews with the Seattle Seahawks, and there were some reports out there that Ben Johnson wanted to poach him, but the report came out that no, he's not going to the Chicago Bears. And I texted you, I said, I think that's a sign that maybe Dan's had a conversation with him and said, hey man, I think you'd stick around here. And again, young coach, offensive line is his strong suit. That's the strong suit of the Detroit Lions. I think he knows where he can lean when he gets into a little trouble, lean on that offensive line. I think we could potentially see him be one of the next great coordinators because I think he's an offensive coach, strong on the offensive line. I mean, I think I don't really have many even other names other than him because I really think he's going to be the guy. I don't think there's any question about it. I think it's just a matter of when are we going to make this thing official? Because if he wanted to leave, he'd be in Seattle. If he wanted to leave, he would have went with Ben Johnson. I think that there's been some conversations, and it's going to be Hank Fraley as the offensive coordinator for the Lions.
Yeah, I think you could be onto something. I can't tell you you're wrong.
I'm a detective, Will. I find everything. I find everything, and I just investigate. Yeah.
You told me you're a bloodhound. Yeah, so you might be right, man. He is somebody that I really like as well. The only thing that I would be interested to see is he staying because of the relationship he has with these players? Because I know Frank said, listen, he can't leave. He cannot leave. You know, Panay Sewell said the same thing. So is he locked into the organization? He's been here for a while. Is he locked in with these players? I mean, we mentioned it before in the previous podcast. He probably has the easiest job in the NFL right now. Like just coaching a bunch of Pro Bowlers and All Pros,
and an up and coming Pro Bowler in Mahogany, probably coming up in the next couple of years.
1000%. So yeah, is it that, man, or is it that he's about to take over this OC? I will say that coach over there for the Chicago Bears has had situations to where he's called some plays and some situations that I didn't like because of the style of football I like. That's all. I'm not here to say that he was wrong or he did the wrong thing, but I like tough. I like pound the football. I like pound the football and then play action. On a 3rd and 1, I want you to be looking at David Montgomery's shoulder pads just running through your face. Like I don't want to mess around. I don't want to see five wide receivers, and I don't think that Hank is gonna be calling 5 wides in 3rd and 1 situations. So the thought of an O-line coach taking over this offensive coordinator position, and the thoughts that I think that he may, the mentality that he may embrace, I think it really fits blue collar, tough, gritty, nasty, violent football. I'm going to move you against your will, and there's nothing that you're going to do about it. And then the best play action quarterback in the league is just going to be able to do his business. That excites me. But Steve, there's another guy. I brought this guy up a long time ago. We had just freshly started podcast. His name was buzzing around. He did a little interview with Danny Rogers. It kind of put me on to start digging into him. Ben Johnson was doing the same thing that Coach Glenn was doing with Shep. He's grooming this guy. And now it's his opportunity to step forward. Tanner Engstrand, man. Tanner Engstrand started this thing, San Diego, worked his way up to the league. It's been the passing game coordinator, been elbow to elbow with that coach out there for the Chicago Bears, has been given multiple pats on the back for plays that he's come up with to include trick plays. So not all of those plays were that guy out there in Chicago.
He gets
So
all the glory, but he's not the guy
yeah,
behind the clipboard.
yeah, he's not always the guy behind the scenes doing everything. So this is a guy that they're talking about who is going to be a really good coach when he gets his opportunity. I think it may be his time to step up and do his thing, man. So how you feel about Tanner Engstrand?
I will say this. I'll give you your flowers, Will. You were talking about him at least a year ago. I wasn't even very familiar with the name. I think a lot of people are familiar with the name now, but I don't think they're familiar with his face. I think he could show up on a lot of people's doorsteps delivering a pizza and no one's going to know who he is. So, I mean, I think it fits our narrative of, hey, could we take a gamble on a young, maybe possible up and coming offensive coordinator? No, not much experience, actually really no experience at all calling plays. But familiarity with the offense. Does he know the terminology? Does he know the strengths of the offense? He knows the strengths of Jared Goff. He knows where we're strong and where we're weak, which is not many spots where we're weak. So would he be a good fit? Yes. Am I willing to roll the dice on that? Yes. If you're telling me I hit a home run on that defense, because I think that's the most important thing is we have such a young defense. It's just been so inconsistent. I'm excited for the draft, some free agency stuff we're going to start diving into. I've already got a whole laundry list of names to look at in the draft. I've already started my scouting. I'm going to start tracking Brad Holmes, seeing where he's going here pretty soon. We'll start paying attention to some more stuff. So anything else for tonight, Will?
Steve, I got a guy.
You got another name.
I got one more name. And it's outside the box. I know it's outside the box. This is guys, if you've watched Detroit Den 313 long enough, sometimes Will just gets goofy. He gets crazy. He does some stuff, and you guys got to tell me that I'm tripping. So feel free to get in the comments and say, Will, this is you again being an idiot.
Do I get a hint? Do I get to guess it? Give me a hint.
I'll give you one hint. I'll give you a layup so you can just bring him out to the forefront. He's been here before, Steve.
Don't say Jim Bob Cooter. I'll kill myself right now, will you?
Negative, not Jim Bob Cooter, but
Deuce Staley?
Mm.
Okay. Hey, I'll tell you right now, if you would have said Jim Bob Cooter, I'm fucking out of here, Will. Okay. Last I heard, he was with the Panthers, and I don't know. I know he moved back there for a family thing. That's why he left Detroit, so we were pretty easy on him because we understood. Don't know what that thing is now. Where is he at right now?
Don't know what happened, but he was only with the Panthers for 13 games. He's with the Panthers for 13 games, had to leave, have not dug into why he had to leave, then popped up last season with the Cleveland Browns. He's the running backs coach for the Browns. That tells me and guys, put it in the comments section if you know, because there's one guy that I almost put on here from the Cleveland Browns, but I don't know how it works position to position when under contract. So if you're the DC somewhere and another team wants you, I don't know. Can you just request to interview that guy? Can you know what I mean? I don't know what that process is because I know like Mike Martz, he was under contract and teams were requesting to interview him because they knew there was some turmoil and the owner went ahead and said, no, you're not going to be interviewing him until we make a decision on what we're doing. So I don't know if it's that same process or what that looks like, because another guy would have been Jim Schwartz that I would have liked to look at. But keeping it on track, hey man, you can't question Jim Schwartz as a defensive coordinator. You can't question that. That is unquestionable. That dude is a dog defensive coordinator.
I hope he's not in charge of the challenge flags. We don't have a flashback to Thanksgiving against the Houston Texans again. That's all
let me stay on path though. But remembering Deuce when he was here, man, he was electric. Him and Coach Glenn going back and forth, the energy that he brought, being a leader of men, the players loved him. So the thought of bringing him back, and because he was an assistant head coach, so it's not like, and if you look at his resume, he's got a nice resume, and he was supposed to be a big time up and coming coach who could potentially be taking a head coaching position. He's a guy, you get him in the building, he's got some experience, he knows the area, he knows some of the players. Maybe he could be an outside the box look as an OC for the Detroit Lions. So what we got here? Hank, Tanner Engstrand. I'm throwing Deuce out there. Guys, I want to hear in the
Jim
comments
Caldwell coming back by chance,
who's
or
who's
just
who's your guy, man? Nah, man, I'm serious, man. I really like him, man. I like Deuce because he has that tough physical nature, man. How he played the game is how we want to play the game here for the Detroit Lions. He had a nasty little stiff arm, man. He'd run you over. But how he wants to play the game, his mentality, I just feel like it fits the Detroit Lions. He played a major role in helping turn this thing around too. So
well, can
I
I
don't know,
take
maybe
this
we'll
call
bring him
real
back.
quick? I got my
Go
phone's ringing. It's Wayne Fonts wanting to know if he can come back as well.
You're a savage.
We threw out some names. Hey, there's a lot of things going on with the Detroit Lions right now. Season's over, unfortunately. Moved on. We're talking, how do we make this team better? Where do we go from here? It's like that tough breakup you have. You get your heart broken for the first time. How do you move on? What's the first part of grief? You got to go through some anger, some depression. Maybe you're you eat your feelings type of person. I don't know, man. But we're gonna start getting into some good stuff here. Hit that subscribe button. Stick around. We'll be back later with another show.
Peace.